out with that. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, I'll check my diary for next Tuesday. I'm the public servant.
Thank you very
I
much.
will come back to talk to the people and let's fix the theme of the day. Let's fix. Thanks, and
Charles will be here to go on those conversations. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you are doing great. My name is Mimi Christian from PMI SSA Sub-Saharan Africa region. So I'm just here for as you know, to moderate the session of the day. And I hope you guys are ready for the session of the day. It's true that we are just giving some few minutes for those connecting to join us before we go deep into today's session. But before that, please let us know where you are connecting from. Let us know where you are connecting from. You can drop in the message in the chat section where you are connecting from. As for me, I am speaking live from Côte d'Ivoire, Abidjan, in West Africa, and we want to welcome you. Hello from Namibia, hello from Ghana. Awesome. So let it come, let us know where you're connecting from for us to acknowledge. Yeah, I have someone from Abidjan as well. That's awesome. Great. Hello from Nigeria. That's great. That's great. That's always great. Let us know. Let it come. Let it drop. Then, if you are here too, and you are also planning to write your exam soon, please let us know the dates. You never know. Maybe we have a prayer session, a special prayer session for you to make sure you come back with the good news. So we'll start in some few minutes. Just let us know when you are writing. Yeah, June 5. Yeah, awesome. Very soon. Please let it come, let it come. Let us know when you are writing. Right, so we are starting in a few moments. All right. So thanks for your feedback. We wish you all the best. Then we'll kick off I guess the others will just join us soon. Hello, Gerard. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. I hope you are doing great.
Yes,
And
thank
I
you.
hope you are also refreshed. You had time to drink water because, as you know, PMP is changing very soon. So
Yes.
those connected, they are ready to drain you with questions and also
Fire
to
questions.
collaborate. Yeah. So today we are pleased to have Gerard back. Yeah, Gerard is an expert in project management, a consultant, and also a trainer. Today is going to take us through empower team members, negotiate agreement, and manage scope. To help you have clear insight on these specific topics in light of your preparation for your PMP. So without wasting much time, let me hand over to Gerard. Make sure during the session you close your mic. Please just cross-check again whether your mic is open. Make sure you close your microphone to avoid disturbing. There will be a time when you'll be required to open your mic so that you can answer some questions and all that. Gerald, thanks again for joining, and over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Really excited to be here, and thank you all of you for joining us this evening. Speaking to you from Kampala, Uganda. We've just had our president swear in from the elections we had in January. So we have a brand new president today. Same old, but he's swearing today for his 7th term. So you can say congratulations to Uganda once again. But back to the topic here, I'm excited to be sharing. I've been here before, but this time to really run with you through empower team members, negotiate agreements, and manage scope. So I'm the team leader at Crosslinks Consults. We are an authorized training partner here in Uganda. We've trained the most number of PMPs in this country. And we are very, very excited about those statistics. So I've just put on my video for the intro. If you don't mind, I'll be able to put it off at some point. And so I just really wanted to share with you a little bit about Crosslinks and what we do in this country. And that's our mission to be a transformative training and consultants services provider in this country. And core values are those. And we offer these 3 services: training, of course, our premier training course is the PMP, the CAPM, SCP, construction professional, and PMO that we have offered, and a host of other courses, as you can see. But also we do consulting services, and finalizing plans to be a PSON testing center. We're just waiting to offer the PMP. We actually offer other exams here at our center at the moment. So that's really a bit about us, and I hope that if you have questions about Crosslinks, I'll be happy to take them at the end of this presentation. So right now, we're going to dive straight into our content today, and allow me to share that we're going to be talking about empower team members, stakeholders, negotiate project agreements, plan and manage scope. Now, I must mention that our content today is the refreshed ECHO, the exam content outline that was launched in April. So the content we'll be sharing today is following that refresh. So I hope that that's okay with you, because really that's the new course that we have. If you're thinking about sitting exams beyond July the 12th, then this content is going to be very, very applicable. But if your exam is also around the corner, there's so many aspects of the old content that is still captured here. I believe that you'll still find this very, very valuable. Okay, so I'll start with the first topic, which is empower stakeholders. And the objective of that is to organize around team strength, support team task accountability, evaluate, demonstrate task accountability, and then determine and bestow levels of decision making. So quite a bit of change from what we knew earlier on. Okay, so we'll start with this this topic of understanding your team needs. So first of all, you've got to think about your team. Remember, as a project manager, you assemble a team that is going to help you to run the tasks of your project plan. Now, you've got to look at your team and what skills and experience they have. So your exam will be testing you as a project manager, your ability to understand the team you have, what strength and weaknesses they have, that in terms of their skill set and experience that you are going to build on, or that you need to motivate to get them ready or up to the task. So so the first one really is to understand who on your team. Let's say you have a team of 15 people. So are they experienced or are they inexperienced? Do you have experts on those teams? So if they are inexperienced, they need a lot of guidance and guidance and structure. If most of your team members are experts, then these are likely to work alone and be autonomous. Basically, you have a lot of trust for them. So as a project manager, you need to use emotional intelligence to read your team's mood, their stress levels, and motivation. Low morale may require transformation or coaching style. So really, that's one of the first things that you as a PM needs to understand. I have my team. What are their skill set and experience? Do they need support in terms of training and bring them up to speed for the tasks that they have at hand? The second thing is to really empower your team, build unity and autonomy. Because those three words are characteristics of a high-performing team. And if you can cultivate those characteristics early within your team, then your team will perform. Remember, you've assembled your team. You want to ensure that they are high capacity, high performing. And so you need to empower them. You need to empower so that they feel a sense of ownership of the work and the decisions that they're about to take. They need to prioritize working together as a team, and also to be for you as a PM to grant autonomy to the team. That shows that you trust them, and that alone will inspire their productivity. Sorry. So the goal of empowerment, unity, and autonomy is that the team will recognize their power and influence. As an empowered, cohesive unit, team members depend on one another to make decisions and solve problems. Okay, so these are some of the things that you need to do to challenge your team. So when challenges arise during a project, if your teams are empowered, they will act together with a greater sense of responsibility. So you need to encourage your team members to foster collaboration, decision making, such that the team can depend on each other. And also, of course, you need to support diversity, equity, and inclusion day. We all know what this is all about. But empower your team members or your team to act or to work as a unit, as a whole unit, but also that they should be able to respect each individual and their beliefs. Okay, so their thinking about their language, their religion, all those things need to be respected. And as a project manager, you'll be tested on your ability to work with different people from different backgrounds, different religions, and the project manager supports that. Yeah, you suppose. I think there's someone speaking in the background. please mute. Okay, so the project manager really is going to be tested on their ability to work with teams or team members from different backgrounds. And one of the things that you do as a project manager is to create what we call psychological safety and embrace balance. Okay, so psychological safety is a psychosocial condition required for high performing teams. Team members should be comfortable being themselves at work. Health work settings, embrace uniqueness, build on trust and mutual respect, and help ensure ethical decision making. So psychological safety goes hand in hand with uniqueness. And this is a team concept that is also useful, especially in predictive team settings. Trust and mutual respect are essential to empowered teams. Okay. So as a project manager, you ideally you'll use your leadership style that is appropriate for the team that you have and within the project context at the time. So this chart here lists 6 different leadership styles, their characteristics, and when each is best used. Let's go through them quickly. So, and as we go through them, I want to ask you, which one are you, or which one have you used before? Sometimes, you know, as a project leader, you use one style on this project and another style on another. And I think some of us have, you know, hopped through some of these different leadership styles. So maybe 2 or 3 of you, I would love to hear your story. Which one have you used and what was the circumstance? So as a project leader, sometimes you will be using a leadership style we call directive, where decisions must be made quickly and the team is given clear instructions and control processes. If it is supportive, then it's more that the team, your project team, needs more motivation or morale boost. It's built on trust, focuses on well-being. Supportive is different from directive. If you servant leadership, then this works more in what we call agile or adaptive or collaborative environment. This empowers team leaders, removes obstacles, and if it's transformational leadership, then change is needed, vision must be here. As a project manager, you act more like a motivational speaker. You inspire people, you align with shared purposes. If it's transactional, then it's more about performance needs. If you do this, if you complete your project within the next 3 weeks, I'll reward you this. 4 weeks, then I'll reward you 20% less. In 5 weeks, nothing. So more of transactional, okay? It's based on reward, but also punishment based on the outcomes. If it is democratic, then the team input is valuable, especially around decision making. You get your project team together, you discuss the issues at hand and involve team members in decision making. That encourages participation. So if you could put up your hand, and Mim, if you'd help me, maybe pick 2 hands from colleagues here who would like to share their experience in what leadership style they have exhibited during their work as project managers. Anyone who's bold enough to get started, to get this started up? Any hands up? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. I don't know if there are any hands up. Okay, Christopher, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much and for the facilitating this event. So from my side, I think, and considering that I'm coming from a background of procurement and contracting and being obtaining the sufficient mindset, I think I've been in a situation where I've used almost all these processes in the same environment. So in most cases, and particularly in a project environment, have been very supportive and servant and also transformational. But there are also instances that critical decisions have had to be made very urgently and within the scope of my authority. So on those instances, I was fairly autocratic or directive, but I've been encountering almost all these shades. So I tend to rely on supportive, servant, and transformational. However, I'm always amenable to apply directive and transactional when applicable. Thank you.
When applicable. Nice. Thank you for being bold and sharing that, Christopher. Samuel?
Good evening, everyone.
Good
I'm
evening.
from Nigeria. So I have also used all the 6 styles too. The deadline is near, the timeline is tight, and I want my team to deliver before the timeline. I make use of the directive, which is like no excuse, nothing. You just need to follow the procedures. But most times, I always start once at the beginning of projects. I start with the servant leadership and the supportive leadership style, because that's the beginning of the products. Yeah, I need to inspire them, let them build trust, ask them, especially for the IT, most especially my back-end developers. When I ask them for this project, which program language do you think leadership style to get the best of them and inspire them to be really interested. But once getting to the end, when the deadline is drawing nearer, I change to the directive style. So thank you very much.
Amazing, Bokon. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And yeah, I know that each of us, myself as well, I have actually gone through each one of these, depending, like what Christoph and Ibokun have said, depending on what circumstances have walked through each one of these styles during my work as a project manager. And so the exam really will be bringing up some of these styles. You need to know the characteristics and how unique each of these style is, and what unique appeal it brings to each to team members whenever you show up, either as a supportive, transactional, or a democratic leader. So those are some of the leadership models that project managers go through. Okay, team building is also critical to helping ensure the team functions in a cohesive manner, working together in the same direction. And this aspect is also a critical component of leading a successful team. So team building activities will do all these things and be ready when the exam asks, okay, around team building. What's the purpose of team building activities? To build cohesion and solidarity so that the teams can perform better. Good leadership facilitates bonding among project team members. Team building activities build unity, trust, empathy, and focus on the team over the individual. They can be formal, informal, brief, extended, facilitated by yourself or a professional facilitator. We've all gone through these, and remember here, we're trying to empower our project team so that they are able to do their work. And when you assemble a project team, sometimes they don't know each other, and a team building activity might help to foster the unity and the trust among themselves. Okay, we've been on team building activities where we work, or most of you where you work, and you know how that has helped you to meet new people that you didn't know from other departments and sections. And when you are doing the same activities, there's a way, you begin to ask, what's your name, what do you do, where do you work? And it breaks the silos and gives you a brief introduction to other team members that you probably don't know. So it's something that you can use when you're building cohesion and team consensus. So team building activities are the specific functions or actions that you take to help the team to develop into a mature, productive team. And they can be formal, like we said. Remember these words, formal, okay? These words are very crucial. Team building can be formal, informal, brief, or extended, or facilitated by yourself or a professional person. The other aspect to team empowerment is this guy, I hope you've come across this guy's book, Bruce Tuckman. He came up with a ladder and said, look, if you put together a project team that has not known each other, okay, and you assemble them and you have to give them a task, and you are at the kickoff meeting and say, tomorrow we're beginning a project, that project team will go through these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages, okay? This is what Bruce Tuckman proposed. And he says that in the project, the team can get stuck in a particular stage or even revert to an earlier one. And this is especially likely after disruption, such as a new team member joining or leaving, or perhaps a change or shift in the roles. So Tuckman says that when you put together the team, the first thing that it will do, like this call, this is our first time to meet in a long time. So for the first 2, 3 or 4 minutes, we were in forming stage. Okay, team members meet and begin to trust one another. And then we move quickly into the storming phase where team members begin to assert themselves and take control of emerging issues. Remember when we said, who are you? Tell us where you are calling from. You know, there's a bit of storming. Oh, I'm from Uganda. Oh, Nigeria is bigger than Uganda. Oh, South Africa, things like that. So there's the forming, storming, and then norming. The team begins to work productively without worrying about personal acceptance or control issues. And then performing is the ultimate place where you want your team to be. They are working at optimum productivity and are collaborating and communicating freely and solving their own conflicts. And that journey is when team members complete the assigned work and shift the next project or assigned task. So for your exam, you might need to know, not you might, you will need to know which, in terms of stepwise, okay, what comes first. So don't confuse yourself and start saying, oh, storming, norming, performing. No, no, no. You've got to get this order right, okay? Get this order right, okay? And I'm not asking you to cram, I'm asking you to understand it, okay? Forming is the first one. Storming, norming, performing, and joining. If you can get that order right in your mind, and you can even apply this on anything that where the team members, where you have a team formation, a team formed to work on a particular thing. Could be a wedding committee, you know, they put you together as and a part of a wedding committee. The first time you meet, you go through all those stages, okay? And what Tuckman says is that if one of the team members, you know, jumps off the project or the committee and another jump on, you go back into forming, storming. You basically iterate this entire process, whatever happens. So really that is what Tuckman here is talking about, okay? And where and how the team works also matters, okay? The environment and location of the project team are extremely important elements of leading and managing project teams. Your team needs to be able to contribute everywhere and at any time. So the environment and location matter. So foster meaningful interaction to support autonomy, respect agreed on team working hours and practices. So the where and how ensures the team is empowered. Okay, now I want to run through some motivation theories as well. Again, that deal with team empowerment. What motivates people to work? What doesn't? And we have 4 guys here who have, you know, who came up with theories, what we call motivational theories, that are standard knowledge areas for business practitioners. So as project managers and as project team members, we benefit from these motivational theories. So 4 guys: Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Heisberg motivation, which is motivation hygiene theory, McGregor's theory X and Y, McClelland's achievement motivation theory. All this is what we are going to be looking at quickly and briefly. Okay, so let's start with Maslow's theory. Who is bold enough to just, you know, use one word to explain what each one of these stands for? Because some of you, I'm sure, have have come across these theories before. So in terms of this pyramid that Mr. Or professor, a psychology professor called Abraham Maslow founded in 1943 when he wrote a paper on theory of human motivation. He presented what we refer to today as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow names 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once again, you've got to know what sits on top of the pyramid or top of this triangle and what sits at the bottom of the triangle. Okay, so anyone who would like to volunteer to just give us a brief explanation on this Maslow's? I see Christopher's hand up, but I would like to give an opportunity to someone else who hasn't spoken before I jump back to Chris. Okay, anyone else? This is something you've seen, somewhere before, and it'll be good for you to explain. All right, I'm waiting. One, before you go to Christopher. Two, okay, Christopher, it's your turn again. Thank you. It's your chance again.
By the way, that was a legacy hand. I think when I raised it initially, it did not go down. But anyway, I'm happy to give it a trial.
Okay.
Yeah, so I understand that in the lower part of the pyramid is we talk mostly about basic needs, those aspects that are very essential for survival. And that changes as you move upwards, safety lab, and then to the most achievement level where you feel like you've gotten what you want in your life and you are very happy with your career or your contribution to the project or the team. And it's not so much about now money, it's not so much about a guarantee on employment and all that, but how you are achieved your ambition and how you are impacting on the project. So basically, it is a continuum coming from the lowest side of basic needs and security issues, running upwards to self-actualization and esteem. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate. Yes, he's right. So the physiological needs are the basic elements the human body needs to survive. Food, water, sleep. Each one of us need that. Okay. Now, as we go through this this pyramid, ask yourself, where are you? I would like to ask you, where are you on this hierarchy of needs? Safety needs are the items a person needs to feel safe from physical or economic harm. You have a house where you sleep, are you safe? When you go back home to sleep, when you're driving to work, are you safe? Those kind of things that ensure your safety. Then love needs include a desire to give and receive affection and be a part of a group. Esteem needs have to do with recognition received from others as well as self-esteem. And then, of course, self-actualization needs that are the desires an individual has for self-fulfillment and developing to their full potential. So don't answer here, but where are you? Are you still here? Are you still here? Where are you? And as a project manager, if you can answer where you are, then I'm asking you that whenever you have put your project team together, you've got to think for each one of them, ask a question, where are they? You basically need to run a Maslow hierarchy of needs assessment through for each one of them, because then that helps you. Because if they are here, okay, they are fighting for survival, they don't have food, man, the attention to detail and the things you are telling them will be distorted. They will not have full concentration because they're worried. What am I going to eat later today? Okay, so you've got to understand this, where your project team members are as you assemble them and help them to move up in the ladder, because that's perhaps one of the reasons they're on your project team. Okay, and if they are going through an issue at home with their loved one, or they've just gone through divorce or something like that, it will affect how they perform on your team. So that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then is another guy called Frederick Heisberg. He has a theory around hygiene, or what we call motivation hygiene theory, that states that success in the workplace is based upon two elements, okay? Hygiene factors and what we call motivators. Hygiene factors and motivators. So that's number one. And then number two, motivators. So Heisberg says that hygiene factors relate to working conditions, a stable job, and good relationships with management and co-workers. Okay, so a salary, your work environment is good. Heisberg says that would motivate you. Okay, he says hygiene, then motivating factors relate to feelings of achievement, recognition, and career advancement. Okay, advancement, recognition, and engagement. Okay, let me say this again. So he puts so Heisberg puts up two factors: hygiene factors and then motivators. So and he says that one of these two does not equal to does not equal to or does not really motivate employees. Which one is that? Which one is that? Is it hygiene factors? Is it motivators?
Hygiene.
Hygiene factors. That's correct. Yes. So according to Heisberg, it says that hygiene issues cannot motivate employees, but can minimize dissatisfaction if handled properly. Yeah, that you go and earn a salary every month. You work in a good environment. There is AC, there's a carpet on the floor, and you have a swinging chair. That might not be a good motivator. However, it will minimize the way you are satisfied. It will minimize the dissatisfaction at work if it's handled properly. But you know that salaries, and this is a conundrum, because if your salary is 100,000 today and next month they double it to 200,000, basically after another month you'll feel like the salary you have is not good enough. So Heisberg says does not really equal to motivation salary. But that's a hot topic. Many people think that salary increments and salaries are good motivation. To the contrary, Heisberg says that okay, says that, okay, not to the contrary. So on hygiene topics, it says company policy, supervision, salary, interpersonal relationship, working conditions, issues related to employee environment. Those are not, cannot motivate you, but they minimize dissatisfaction. But it says that motivators, on the other hand, which are these, okay, create satisfaction by fulfilling an individual's need for meaning and personal growth, and these issues such as achievement, recognition, and work itself, and advancement. That once hygiene areas are addressed, motivators will promote job satisfaction and encourage production. So be aware whenever you come across questions that relate to Heisberger's motivation hygiene theory, also known as two-factor theory. Okay, your exam might use two-factor theory. Remember, that is Heisberg theory again. The third one is McGregor. Yes, so Douglas McGregor has two theories, theory X and theory Y, which are applied to the management of labor in the field of social psychology. So, so McGregor says that there are two styles of management: the authoritarian, which is theory X, and then the participative one, which is theory Y. So he says, if you're a manager, if you're a manager who believes in theory X, you view workers as, or your project team members, the ones who dislike and avoid work, that people avoid increased responsibility. You think workers need to be directed. So this kind of manager is a micromanager, over supervises, and wants to work with the people. They like to see people on the floor. Okay, they don't like to work with people remotely. That's theory X. Whereas theory Y, managers who adopt this theory Y is essentially the opposite. They believe that people want to work, and workers seek job satisfaction, and they do not require direction. So theory X managers are often called old-fashioned, but you can think of modern context in which this management, but can you think of modern context in which this management style is helpful? Okay, so theory X is called the old-fashioned one, and theory Y is mostly called the modern approach. So in project management, team environment adopts theory Y. This is the most recommended theory to work in on a project. So be aware when the exam comes. Your choice of McGregor's theory is Y and not X. Why? Because this is one where you believe workers come to the job every day because they want to work. Okay, and then finally, is a guy called McLaren. He has an achievement motivation theory. So David McLaren achievement motivation theory, which is also known as the three needs theory, says that all people are driven by needs of achievement, okay? Or all workers are driven by needs of achievement, needs of affiliation, and needs of power. That the relative strength of each need depends on the individual's experience and culture. So effective project managers know how to motivate each type of individual and how to encourage some balance which is needed on the project. So with these three motivators, McLaren says people who are motivated by achievements such as reaching a goal are motivated by activities, okay, and work that is challenging but reasonable. And then those who are motivated by affiliation, they seek acceptance and belonging. And those who are motivated by power like to organize, they like to motivate, they like to lead others. They are motivated by increased responsibility. So that is what McLaren's achievement motivation says. Okay.
Let me know whether the GoTV is playing very well.
Oh, guys, there's a lot of noise in the background. I'll request that you mute. Okay. Yeah. So all these theories are some of the ways that we can empower our project teams. One of the other things, of course, what we need is empathy, which is a critical emotional intelligence skill, and then social skills as well, which help us to work with other people. Okay, and I'm running a bit fast here because we our time is going. So learning the right things to do to motivate your team, inspire and motivate yourself and the team, provide opportunities, not obligations, give virtual teams constant and regular contact, provide appropriate training opportunities, try self-assessment and reflective moments for professional growth. Don't overwhelm teams with meetings and work interruptions. Don't distract team members with non-project work, and don't force group activities. In terms of using rewards and recognition, rewards can be tangible and physical items for specific outcome or achievement used to motivate toward a specific outcome. Never reward without recognition. And recognition can be intangible, experiential event, acknowledgement of person's behavior, and you can use it to increase the recipient's feeling of appreciation, and can be given without a reward as well. Okay, so be transparent and judicious when using rewards and recognition. Monitor for any negative effects resulting from misplaced competitiveness or animosity. Okay, and you must create a space for hybrid teams as well to work. Remember that how we motivate predictive teams or teams in predictive environment might be slightly different from teams in hybrid environments or agile environments. So create space for hybrid teams create a team space that encourages co-location. These are characteristics for hybrid teams: collaboration, communication, transparency, and visibility. Okay. And then uphold the team charter and ground rules. Okay. So you must, as you assemble the team together, okay, come up with rules on how the team will work together. Okay. Come up with ground rules. This is, we show up to work at 8 a.m. We leave at 5 p.m. When there's a conflict, you first resolve it with your supervisor before it comes to the project manager. Those kind of rules. We communicate on email and use WhatsApps as well. We don't do this. Some sort of rules that really helps your team to work together. And all of that is put together into a document called the team charter. And once the team charter is signed off, then all group members adhere to the rules. Okay, so teams go through forming stage after any change. Has the ground rule been violated or broken? Help ensure that the appropriate response, remind the team members about mutual agreement, and coach team members, use servant leadership, and then save harsh disciplinary action for severe variations. Be careful when you see exams asking you what should the project manager do when a team member violates ground rules. Okay, the first thing to do is not to terminate them, is not to send them off the project, but it's really to walk through a process that allows for reconciliation. Okay, so that is, whenever you have to serve harsh disciplinary measures, that should be the last kind of action that you want to take. Okay, team members display accountability in terms of predictive projects. Keep work visible to work, transparency of work breakdowns, structure dictionaries and work packages as well. The RASI, okay, the RASI will help you to say who has responsibility, who is accountable, who is consulted, who is informed in terms of who is doing what. Okay, and encourage team members, if it is hybrid, encourage team members to self-organize continuously in determining accountability standards. That's for hybrid and predictive projects. Okay, you can come up with a RASI of this kind. Remember, so this is an activity, and then a project manager, engineering manager, quality assurance manager, you basically create a table, okay, list the activities, and then the resources you have, and then assign the RACI depending on what you believe depending on what you want each of these team members to do on each of those tasks. For example, here, create blueprints. The project manager is accountable, but the engineering manager is responsible, is the one who does the work. This is consulted, okay? And that's how you can construct this RASI, okay? And as we make decisions, okay, empower the team to act. Yes, empower the team to act. This is a core function of all teams. The team charter identifies decision-making and conflict resolution criteria. Teams establish their own norms or a way of working for making decisions and conflict resolutions. Teams always try to achieve consensus. Okay, opportunities to empower the team. Come up with activities. Okay, clarify and prioritize requirements or user stories. Split requirements into tasks. Estimate effort. And then risks, classify the risks and also the risk responses. And here are the decision-making methods. You can use voting, multi-criteria decision analysis, or autocratic decision making. So your project team, this is how you can agree on which one of these decision-making methods to use for each particular decision at hand. And here the decision-making methods, here the voting methods. You can use unanimity, where everyone agrees on a single on a single course of action, useful in project teams with great cohesion. Example is the Delphi technique. So in other words, here you come up with the situation and then ask each person to answer. Okay, if you're using a Delphi technique, you can ask 5 people about the same issue and then wait to hear their responses and put it together. If it's majority, sorry, there's a lot of background noise here. I wonder, please help us to mute this. We're receiving so much echo. Okay. And then majority decision reached with greater than 50% of group support. Okay, please remember that that's what majority means. It must be greater than 50. It can be 50.1, but it must be greater than 50. Create groups of uneven number of participants to help ensure decisions are made and avoid tie votes or draws. So if you had 9 people and we ask them to take a vote, then the majority wins. Who, the majority will be 5. Any above 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. If it is plurality, decisions reached with the largest block in a group deciding even if the majority is not reached. Use this method when more than 2 options are nominated. Please understand the difference between these two, plurality and majority. Okay. Majority must score above 51. Okay, this plurality means that doesn't have to be a majority, can be a block. Maybe there are 5 decisions, but one decision maybe that has 30, one decision is 10%, 20, 30, 40. The one of 40% takes the day because that is plural. Okay, so these are just voting methods and they can be used across the 3 methods. And there are other voting methods to reach consensus. First of 5, planning, poker, dot voting, Roman, voting, and polling. You can read about them. Okay, now I do have some questions here for you to answer quickly. Please do put your answers in the chat room. Mim, are you here to lead us through this session of question and answer? Okay. All right, please do put your answers in the chat room for those 3 questions quickly. I'm giving you a minute, well, 3 minutes, each question 1 minute. So I'll come back to you at 3 minutes to 9. Please try to answer. Yes, do give your answer. All right, I'm waiting. Yes, keep those answers coming in. Keep those answers coming in. One, two, three, keep them coming in. Okay. Answer all the 3 questions. We have 1 minute to go. Okay, well, half a minute to go. Okay. Right. Okay, cool. Okay, I think we need to stop here. Okay, and I'm going to ask someone here who'd like to read the question number 1 and give us their answer. I'd like just to get 3 people, one person to read question 1, another one question 2, another question 3. Okay. Diana?
I'll read question 1.
Yes, please.
During a project, a stakeholder feels ignored and begins resisting project decisions. What is the best action by the project manager? For me, increased stakeholder engagement and communication. Somebody is likely to begin resisting when they don't feel like they're in the project. They're involved in the project. So whenever you give them engagement, that's when you'll have them. That will be a good solution.
Great. Thank you. So you choose B. That's all?
B. Yeah.
B. All right. All right. Okay, Elizabeth, can I choose you for 2?
Yes.
All right. Oh, we have several Elizabeth.
There are 2 Elizabeth.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Elizabeth,
Go
press.
ahead.
Okay, you can fight. You fight or say the winners.
I will read the question, then you will answer.
Okay.
A project manager wants to create a high-performing agile team. Which action best supports empowerment?
The answer is C, allowing the team to self-organize.
Allowing
C.
the team to self-organize. Okay, we'll check and see if it is C. And finally, who would like to take us through question 3? Guys, where are you?
A stakeholder proposes a
Let me take it.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, it says a stakeholder proposes a valuable improvement to the project scope. What should the project manager do? A is reject the idea immediately. B, evaluate the suggestion through the change control process. C, ignore the stakeholders' input. And then D, implement the change without analysis. So I take B. Already it's a valuable improvement suggestion. Therefore, it's what's going through the project integrated change control system to analyze the impact of this change on the project. And typically, project managers don't just throw away valuable decisions. So always step back to have a review of such changes to be sure it does not impact negatively on the project, and then take the right decision.
All right. Okay. So you choose your final answer is
Final answer is B.
D.
B.
B.
Evaluate the suggestion through the change control.
Okay. So you, all right. So your answers are BCB. Okay. Let's check. Okay. You got them right. Congratulations, team. Congratulations. Great. All right. I like that. Yeah, there is a hand. Is that hand still up? Bukama. Rangasana, your hand. Elvis, your hand is up.
No. I raised it when you asked for someone to read. It's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, my question was I wanted to understand question number 2 better
Okay.
and why the answer was C.
All right. So Elizabeth, come back here.
Okay. So for an agile team, the team are always allowed to self-organize themselves. You cannot micromanage team members in an agile project, and you cannot assign tasks without discussions in an agile project. And you cannot always request approval for every task change in an agile project. So you allow the team to self-organize, take decisions by themselves because it's viewed that all team members are experts and you always consult them before taking decisions. Thank you.
All right. That good? Is that okay, Elvis?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So one of you in the chat room said that I should explain more about plurality. Plurality when we're talking about the methods of voting. Look, I want to explain this perhaps using both majority voting and plurality voting. This is to do with decisions within the project team, okay? Decisions within the project team. And these are decision-making techniques we use when a team must choose among alternatives, such as you are voting on vendors, you are voting on designs, you are voting on priorities or risks or solutions. Okay. Whenever we say majority voting, a decision passes only if more than 50% of votes support it. You know what I mean by that. Only if 50% votes support it. In other words, an option must get more than 50% of the votes to win. So if we are 9 people, at least, at least 5, well, at least 6 people must vote yes in order for that decision to pass. So that's majority voting. Whereas plurality voting, the option with the most votes wins even without exceeding 50%. The option with the most vote wins even without exceeding 50%. So majority is used for important decisions needing stronger support. Plurality is used when choosing among many options quickly. So remember that for your exam. I hope that clarifies on those two voting methods. All right. So we now then go to this. These were the questions. The answers are there, but now we're going to move quickly to our other topic, which is negotiate project agreements. This is a short one. Let's run through it quickly, and then we can conclude with the other. So basically here we want to analyze the bounds of negotiation for agreements, to assess priorities and determine ultimate goals, verify objectives of project agreement is made, to participate in agreement negotiations, determine negotiation strategy. This to do with procurement. So when we are procuring services from external parties or from vendors, we must come to an agreement. We must come to some sort of a negotiation. We're procuring a service we don't have internally because perhaps we don't have capacity or the time to do it internally in the organization. So when you procure the service from an external party, we must then negotiate. Okay, we must negotiate the agreement. So the purpose of negotiations in projects, what is it? It helps reach agreements on resources, timelines, deliverables, external contracts as well. The other purpose is that the agreements define the terms, responsibilities and obligations of each party. Remember, you have a buyer and a seller, You have a client and you have, and then you have what? A vendor, you have a contractor. Okay, so it defines, the agreements define what's the responsibility of the buyer, what are the responsibilities of the seller. The outcome is a signed contract, or what we call a formal agreement. Okay. Yeah, so negotiation is a key part of project management and a skill that develops with experience. So in a project setting, negotiation is used to reach agreements that support project goals, whether for resources, timelines, and deliverables. So in procurement, negotiation clarifies the terms. So the project manager's role in agreement negotiation, and this is very important, okay? Please remember that the project manager is not the procurement specialist. That's not your role. What is your role? The exam will be asking you around your role during these negotiations or your role during procurement. So key thing to remember is that agreement negotiations are typically led by a procurement specialist who has authority to sign contracts. Please don't answer that the project manager is responsible for that. No. The project manager is responsible for these things: providing technical input, clarifying project requirement, representing stakeholder interests, an active participant that helps align the agreement with project goals. But however, the procurement lead or the procurement specialist leads the negotiations and signs contracts. So I hope that that is clear. Okay. As a project manager, you often need to get results without having direct authority or making negotiations a critical skill. So every negotiation requires tailored approach. So you must analyze negotiation situations. You often need to achieve results without direct authority, making negotiations a critical skill. Okay, so secure people and resources, manage stakeholders, resolve conflict, negotiate contracts, adjust scope and budget. So every negotiation will require a tailored approach, whether for resources, stakeholder alignment, conflict resolution, or contract. So analyzing the context, the interests, the goals will help identify the right strategy. So these are some of the typical negotiation situations. Okay, these are some of the typical situations. So securing team members and resources. Okay, when you are securing team members and resources and equipment, you do a bit of negotiation. So in your project team, perhaps you're asking functional managers for team members. Okay, when you are trying to align stakeholder expectations with the goals to help ensure their satisfaction. When you're resolving conflicts, requires negotiation. When you're negotiating contracts, it helps you ensure you get the best value and terms for your project. Or when you're adjusting scope, you reach an agreement with stakeholders and sponsors, helping you ensure the project remains viable. So you take each situation in its context. So how procurement negotiation works? Procurement negotiation helps clarify the structure of the agreement, define each party's rights and obligations, establishes clear terms and conditions, supports mutual agreement before signing, and minimizes future misunderstanding. You also now must select a model, a negotiation model that builds value. An effective procurement negotiation model should help create value for both parties, not just reach an agreement, build trust and reduce risk through the right strategy, and then achieve the win-win outcome that support strong partnerships and project success. So effective procurement negotiation is not just about reaching agreement, it's about creating value for both sides. And the project manager might not always be one negotiating, but your input is key to helping everyone reach consensus. So that's the most important thing for you to remember in this on this topic, very brief topic, that the project manager might not be the one negotiating directly, but they help with input. It's your project, so you are the one who has the scope. Okay, so you're the one who supplies that scope to procurement team that later becomes the procurement scope of works. Okay, so that's the job of the project manager, to facilitate those negotiations. And so quickly, we have some questions as well to answer around that. So 3 questions once again, and I'm looking to you to answer them quickly in the chat room. Okay. Let's go. Okay, in our organization, it is typically the legal officer who leads negotiations. Okay, so now that is something that you need to think deeper. Okay, so there is what happens, then there is the ideal. Okay, or there is what we are learning here. So in your exam, please don't answer that it's your legal officer. That option might be there, but if you answer that it's the legal officer who leads negotiations, you'll get that question wrong. Okay, so your legal officer might be doing it now in your organization, but that's not best practice. Best practice is that the procurement specialist does negotiations. So I hope that is clear. But I'm not condemning you. I'm not condemning your legal officer. I'm just saying that for the exam, if there's an option for a procurement specialist, a legal officer, project manager, and they're asking who leads the procurement negotiations, don't say legal officer, you get the answer wrong. It should be procurement specialist. I hope that is clear. Okay. Please answer those 3 questions quickly. All right, you have 3 minutes once again. Okay, please, each one of you attempt the 3 questions. Attempt the 3 questions. I'm waiting. All right. Okay, cool. Looks like everyone has answered. Now let me ask again 3 of you to volunteer to take us through each one of these questions and what answers you think. All right. Any hands up? Please give me your hands up. Volunteer. Fabrice, we go with you first.
Okay, thank you.
Wellington,
Thank you.
question 2.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'm in French-speaking country, so excuse my English. Okay. Okay, the question is, a project manager is negotiating with a vendor for specialized equipment. What should be the primary objective during the negotiation? So the answer I choose is B, achieve a mutually beneficial agreement. Thank you. The other one are not matching.
Okay, I'll circle B. All right, and Wellington, go for it. And then Brandon, you go for question 3. Brenda.
Well, question 2, this is Wellington from Malawi. Question 2, a seller proposes using established materials that may reduce costs. What should the project manager do first? I chose the answer B, option B, evaluate impacts on quality and project requirements. I eliminate D because as a project manager, you don't need usually to escalate. I eliminate C as well, and I eliminated A as well. So I took B. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brendan?
Gerald, good evening, everyone. Okay, so project manager notices tension during negotiations between stakeholders and suppliers. What is the best approach? I selected A, use collaborative problem-solving techniques, because you don't want to force anybody into agreement that they are not aligned on. Obviously can't threaten contract termination, and if you exclude difficult stakeholders, then you don't have the sufficient stakeholders so that you ensure that your project meets the criteria.
Fantastic. So you choose A. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So yeah, so we have BBA. Great. So look at those explanations that really agree with what the explanations you gave earlier on. Thank you, team. Okay, so try out more questions on this topic of negotiate agreements or project agreements. There are quite a number of interesting questions around that. But the key is for you to understand the role of the project manager as agreements are being negotiated. All right. Okay, so we go to the last and final leg of my presentation, which is planning and managing project scope. Okay, this is quite a bit of slides, and so I want to request for your attention and stretch you a little bit before we close, because this topic of scope is very, very crucial. So how do you plan and manage your project scope? Okay, so scope is the sum of products, services, or results to be provided, but there is a difference between what we call project scope and what we call product scope, and the differences are there. In terms of project scope, features, functions, and work that characterize the delivery of the product, service, and or result. Product scope, functions, and features that characterize the product or the service. Let's say your project is to produce iPhone 18. Okay, so the project, the product, let's start with the product. So we must define what functions and features iPhone 18 would have that characterize it as iPhone 18. Once we say iPhone 18 will have 20 megapixels of, photography or videography. It will have this kind of screen. It will be this wide and this long. Then we are scoping the product itself. Now, the process that the process that gets us that entire product delivered is what we can then call project scope. So the two can live with each other or they can be completely separate, but most of the time your product scope is a subset of your project scope. So the features, functions, and work that characterize the service, the delivery of a product or service or result is what we call project scope. So project scope is identified in initiating agreements or contract agreements or contract statement of works, SOW. Product scope may be included, but it is defined separately. So key for your exam, what you define when you are, what you define in your agreements, in your contracts that we just talked about is the project scope, what needs to be completed. But product scope will be included, will be defined separately. And that happens quite a lot. If you're working with product teams, you define the product separately from your contracts or your contract agreements with the vendors. And the definition of ready and definition of done in terms of adaptive teams These need to know when they can be ready to do work and when that work is done. The definition of ready DOR, what needs to be in place so the team can begin work. It depends on the environment, complexity, and lessons learned from past iterations. And they use DOR checklist to communicate and collaborate with stakeholders about readiness for work or progress. Then we have definition of done, describe the goal or desired state. It must be informed by DOR. DOD is similar to acceptance criteria in predictive projects. So when you're talking agile and hybrid and hybrid projects, these terms you need to know: DOR and DOD, definition of ready. So in an agile environment, when you're ready to do work, there has to be a checklist of things. Okay, if you are ready to carry on your iteration, okay, then there must be a checklist of things. If all those things have been checked, we call that definition of ready. What needs to be in place so that the project team can begin their work. Now, once the project team begins to do the work and completes and delivers a product, then you must also come up with another checklist called definition of done. Okay, what do you want to achieve? What product do you want to achieve? Do we actually achieve it? So your checklist, your definition of done is informed by your definition of ready. So those two terms, you need to be aware of them, and those define scope. Okay, define what needs to be, or what is called scope in agile and adaptive environment. Now, in terms of scope planning across all, especially predictive projects, you can use these techniques to collect requirements. Remember, scope planning is we're asking the question, what needs to be accomplished by this project? What needs to be done? What is this project going to be delivering? Let's say your project is to construct a bridge, okay? So you must define what needs to be done in order for the bridge to be constructed. So one of the ways to understand scope of constructing the bridge, for example, is to carry out interviews, to carry out questionnaires, to observe, to do focus groups, to carry out what we call facilitated workshops. And each of these techniques have advantages and disadvantages. So this table describes advantages and disadvantages for each of these techniques. So if you carry out interviews, okay, we want to interview engineers, bridge engineers. Hey, Tim, there's so much noise. Once again, please, how can I mute you? Let me see. I need to mute. They already muted. Let me see if I can mute someone else here. All right. Okay, cool. So what I'm saying is that you've got to understand the advantage and disadvantage of each one of these techniques. For example, if you are using interviews handle sensitive information and confidential information. They help identify the stakeholder requirements, goals, expectations. So because you are carrying out interviews one-on-one, you are able to capture confidential information. However, the disadvantage that only captures a single point of view. So for each one of these techniques, please understand the advantages and disadvantages as stated in your ECHO, the exam content outline. Okay. Then we go to using benchmarks to generate requirements. Okay. Comparative analysis, data capture and measurement, reference points for goal setting, standardization and verification, and finally idea generation and improvement. So these are some of the ways we can benchmark to generate requirements. Compare your organization process. For example, when you're doing comparative analysis, compare your organization process, products or practices to other projects or organizations. Okay, so these are some of the other ways we can generate requirements. So once that is done, then we create what we call a work breakdown structure. create a work breakdown structure. So a work breakdown structure, a WBS, is a hierarchical decomposition that breaks down the total scope of work into manageable levels. So the different levels within a WBS are detailed as follows here. Okay, so you have the project name, you have the control account. You can see this starts with 1, so it's hierarchical, top down or bottom up, whatever you want to think about. So your project name here, construction of Elizabeth's residential house, and then you create control account 1. And then under the control account is the planning package. And below the planning package is work package and work package. So a planning package can have 2 work packages. You can see the numbering here is 1.1.1.1, but this is 1.1.1.2. But remember, we started with 1.1, 1.1.1.2. So it's hierarchical. It's either top down, okay, or bottom up. But for your exam, please remember that the lowest level of your WBS is what we call the work package. So you have work to do that you break down. If this is the work we want to do, we want to construct a bridge. That's such a huge statement. We must break that work into small, more manageable portions, which we call, okay, we can decide and break down that work into, for example, to say foundation. Okay, maybe that's account number 1. Maybe account number 2, we say superstructure. Okay, account number 3, we say something. But now each of these accounts, let's say for account number 1, we break it further again, and then keep breaking it down until a point where we cannot break or decompose that work anymore. Once we have arrived at that place, we call that piece of work the work package. So the work package is the lowest level of your WBS. The work package is a combination of work packages. Sorry, the planning package is a combination of work packages, and the planning package can be optional. So sometimes you see what we call a WBS, but when this is eliminated, so straight from control account, you might see, you might go to work packages. Okay, when that happens, it just means that they have ignored the planning package, because planning package is optional. Okay, so we can create the WBS from scratch. Represents the overall project program. Okay, let me clear this up or erase this. That top one represents that. The highest level provides a broad view of the project. And then the first level of decomposition includes major deliverables, phases, or releases, often contains integration and management work. And then further decomposes each element, focuses on specific tangible deliverables, and the work package is the lowest level of the work breakdown structure, which contains work packages. Okay, so level number 3. So once you have come up with the work package, okay, then you must define what we call a WBS dictionary, work breakdown dictionary. So each of these work package, how long does it take to complete? How many people require to do it? Okay. What's the cost of completing this? So you get the cost
Question.
here, the cost here, sorry?
A question, would you please repeat what happens in the control account?
The control account, okay, here. So that's the
Yes,
first
please.
level of decomposition. So remember, I said that you have a big chunk of work. You want to construct Elizabeth's house. Let me stay on Elizabeth's house. That's such a big statement. So that is that kind of work. But now we must break that work down into accounts, okay? The first account perhaps is clearing the ground. The second account perhaps is the foundation. The third account perhaps is control account, perhaps is the superstructure. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can have many accounts. So in terms of your project, whenever you are posting, whenever you are paying your vendors, the people in finance will want to know which part of the account are we settling. Are we settling the foundation, or is this work completed referring to a superstructure? All of that. So in your work breakdown structure, the control account will be able to help you to understand that in the real life of a project. But it's the first level of decomposition, and it includes major deliverables, phases, or releases. Often it contains integration and project management work. And that's why I'm saying, for example, when you say foundation, okay, you must be able to break down what do you mean by foundation? What other things are going to go? What are the planning packages in foundation? What are the work packages in foundation? So you can create as many as possible. You can have another one here. So you have that. You can have another 1 point. That is 1.1. Okay, and maybe another one here. Okay, so this could be 1.2. 1.2. This could be another 1.3. So in reality, that's what you keep doing. You can have several control accounts on your project. All right.
Thank
I
you.
hope that, yeah, I hope that helps. So I said that once you've developed your work breakdown structure, then for your WBS and the work package, then you must define what we call a WBS dictionary. So that WBS dictionary pertains to each work package. Okay. It must have a WBS code identifier. Remember these ones? These ones here. Okay, this is the code identifier. Okay. Because when you do your package, it will not necessarily be indicated, but you write your WBS for it, and then work description, assumptions and constraints, responsible organization, schedule milestones, associated schedule activities, resource required, cost implication, quality requirements, acceptance criteria, technical reference agreement, all these things. So the WBS, okay, and WBS dictionary, okay, and then WBS, okay, plus your scope statement, okay, those three things. If you have them, then you have defined the scope of your project, okay, but each work package should have a WBS dictionary. Now, sometimes you are managing large projects, okay, maybe planning using predictive approach, it becomes complicated, and some pieces may be developed and delivered incrementally. So these projects are often inherently complex and require project managers to effectively navigate that complexity. So some components may be suitable for incremental development and delivery. Now, to manage complexity, you have to consider strategies such as iterate. Okay, let me see what you have. Yeah, such as iterate, engage, and fail safe. Iterate is to build iteratively or incrementally by adding features one at a time. After each iteration, identify what worked and did not work, analyze customer reactions, and record the project team, what the project team learned from that. To engage with your stakeholders, it means you can build in opportunities to get stakeholder engagement. This reduces the number of assumptions and builds learning and engagement into the process. Now, the last one, which is fail fast or fail safe, build in fail safes. So for elements of a system that are critical, build in redundancy or elements that can provide a graceful degradation of functionality in the event of a critical component failure. So you fail safe. So in other words, you start to do, fail, do again, and then you go back. You do again, you fail. You go back, you do again, you fail. Until when you get it right, then you continue. But this is where you tell your project team you are free to try and try and see if you'll get it right. And they are not punished for failing. They are trying but they are failing safe before you can invest in so much money into a project that is complex. So for complex projects, remember these three words: you can iterate, you can engage stakeholders, or you can fail safe. Okay, we must obtain stakeholder agreement on project scope. So how do we obtain agreement on project scope? We said scope can be fixed or flexible. Fixed scope refers to project management approach where scope of the project is predetermined and remains constant throughout the project life cycle. Whereas flexible scope refers to project management approach where the scope of the project is adaptable and can change throughout the project life cycle. Now we're talking predictive. We can use user stories, story map. I mean, we're talking agile. We can use stories, user stories, story maps, and roadmap. So a story map is also known as a user story map. Okay. A story map is also known as a user story map. It's a visual tool that is used in product development to organize, prioritize, and sequence work required to deliver a product or solution. It is typically created to represent the user journey, focusing on tasks and features that users need to achieve. So for example, here, this gives you a story map. It starts with this color, and then it goes to this, but on the next layer, this and this and this, and then go to, and then below the first one you have that, and then below it is this. Okay, it's easy. It's giving you a map. I'm trying to avoid a lot of complex explaining complex things in this situation, but I'm saying it gives you a map. It creates a map of what needs to be done. If you're a developer and you look at this, then you'll be able to understand that the first one here, okay, I need to develop this before I develop the next one, before I develop this, before I develop this. It gives you a journey. Story maps are usually associated with adaptive approaches, and but you know your scope you can use whether your scope is flexible or fixed. Story map, it's informal, okay. It's an informal. So roadmaps as well, what we use in many projects. You can use a story map or roadmaps depending on what you are dealing with. Then we can monitor our scope. We have different ways of monitoring our scope in predictive environment. Scope is baseline. It's the approved version of the project scope statement, work breakdown structure, and the associated WBS dictionary. This is what I told you project scope is in predictive. In adaptive environment, scope evolves from initial product roadmap to release backlog to iteration backlog. Okay, backlogs, including product features and functions and user stories, reflect identified, updated, and reprioritized product needs. And then for hybrid projects, and a combination of the above. Okay. Now, in terms of breaking down project scope, we need a scope management plan for predictive projects. Okay, it's a summary of activities for how the project, for the project and how that will be done. That's what the scope management plan is. Okay, it specifies how acceptance of completed work will be obtained. We can compare scope planning processes for predictive and adaptive projects. In terms of predictive projects, the project manager facilitates the solicitation and analysis of project requirements or scope requirements. The project manager documents the scope statement and WBS. The project manager develops a schedule and budget and resource. All these plans the project manager does. So in a predictive environment, the project manager leads in scope planning. But in adaptive environments, it's not the project manager who leads. Okay, that's what you need to pick from this slide. It is the product owner and the project team. Okay, the product owner and the project team that lead in the efforts of scoping the the project. So the product owner creates and defines release backlog for the iteration planning team and explains each prioritized user story in detail to the team and uses a story map to sequence and prioritize user stories in the release backlog, whereas the team estimates the effort. So those are two differences. You don't see a project manager here or Scrum Master or Agile coach leading in scope planning in adaptive environment. It's usually the product owner and the team. Okay. In terms of representing data, we have different ways of representing data, mind mapping and
Sorry,
affinity.
please. I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry to take you back. So when you were discussing scope baseline, so I was just thinking, if you have an approved change, how does that affect the scope baseline? Because the scope baseline is the scope statement, the WBS and the WBS dictionary. When you have an approved change, does that now update? Do you now update the scope baseline to include the approved changes that forms an additional scope to what you're doing?
Absolutely. You have to update your scope baseline. So you basically do what we call rebaselining. So yes, once your scope is approved, then you rebaseline your project to accommodate those changes.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we can represent our data that we have collected using mind maps, and you know how these mind maps work like. You're mapping, so you have 5 people in a room. You basically do a visual and creative brainstorming way that organizes their ideas. You ask their ideas about a project and you hear those ideas. So organize those ideas, concepts in a hierarchical manner. Mind maps consolidate ideas created through brainstorming. So the product of brainstorming session is a mind map. Okay, so you basically map or reflect or basically try to group commonalities and differences of ideas into maps. So maps start with a central idea or concept, and then they branch out in related subtopics. So you kind of build a tree whenever you are doing mind mapping. You consolidate ideas that you create through brainstorming into a single map to reflect commonality and differences. Whereas affinity diagrams organize large amounts of information or ideas or data into meaningful categories or groups based on their natural relationships. Anyone who can explain these ones easily or better? Go ahead. Anyone? Mind mapping? Anyone who wants to help me? Okay, you're all quiet, but you know these things. You've dealt with them every day, and I'm trying to find a way to make it easy for you to answer your questions, the questions that you're about to face. Okay, mind maps versus affinity diagram. Have you understood? Hey guys, speak to me.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. So I don't have to labor it a lot. Okay, but you know, mind maps focuses on generating and connecting ideas. Affinity focuses on grouping and structuring ideas into themes. And some of us have done these things before. So then once the ideas are generated, then we must prioritize those ideas. A project cannot work on everything. Not a single project will solve all the problems people have, organizations have. Okay, so if we come up with 5 ideas, we don't have enough resources to do all the 5. Maybe we want to prioritize and do 2 ideas this year. How then can we prioritize. So there are techniques or tools that we can use to prioritize requirements. And some of those tools are here. Moscow, like the capital of Russia, but really it is MSCW, but just put the O's to make it easier for people to remember. So the Moscow was developed by a guy called Clegg. So M stands for must have, should have, could have, will not have. Okay. And if you have 5 ideas, the question is which one of those is a must have? Okay. Which one of those is a should have, could have, will not have? And then we can focus on the first two if we have to do a project with the resources that we have. And the benefits for that idea in the last column. The other model or the other tool we can use is what we call the Kano model. Okay, developed by Noriak Kano. He uses words, okay, and classifies potential customer requirements or features into 4 categories: lighters, exciters, satisfiers, dissatisfiers, and indifferent. Okay, so again, we categorize those ideas using these words, and then we can decide what we want to work on. Then paired comparisons done by developed by L.L. Thurston. They rate and rank alternatives by comparing one with the other. So if I have 5 ideas, we rate them and then rank them and then compare. Or you can use a 100-point method, also known as fixed sum or fixed allocation method, developed by Dean Leffingwell and Don Widrick. We vote for importance of requirements in a list. So I give you a list of 5 and I ask you to assign them points, like monopoly money method. So these are some of the techniques we can use to prioritize requirements. And then once the requirements have been prioritized, we can analyze them using these methods: document analysis, alternative analysis, product analysis, and expert judgment. So on the left are those techniques we use for analyzing ideas. On the right are the descriptions. Okay, so can we match the left to the right? Document analysis, what does it match to? Let's unmute and participate with me quickly. I want to match them. Basically, draw a line like this. Okay. So if this is A and this is B and this is C and this is D, and then if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, can we match these ideas together? These techniques on the left, their definitions on the right. Okay, let's go. Please unmute. Let's participate together.
I think 1 is with C.
1 is with C. So document analysis is used to derive new product requirements from existing documents. Okay, how about 2? Alternative analysis.
I think 2 is A.
2 is A.
2 is A, yes.
Okay, 2 is A.
3 is D.
3 is D.
D.
Okay.
Why 4 is B.
No, 4 is D.
4 is B. Okay. Cool. Thanks for participating. Let's see. You got that. You got that. You got that as well. And you got that. Congratulations, guys. Okay, cool. So let's move quickly and finalize this bit of scope. Okay. So when we decompose work in the work breakdown structure, we talked about that. We identified the deliverables and then structure and organize the work breakdown structure, decompose high-level work into low-level work, and then develop and assign unique identification code to each. This is like a bit of continuation of the work breakdown structure. And then we come up with what we call the scope statement, which describes the work that we are going to do. scope statement. So the scope statement includes the scope description, acceptance criteria, any required deliverables, any out of scope items needed for clarification, constraints and assumptions. This word scope statement applies to predictive environment. So you will not find this in adaptive environment. Okay, but you can also use it in hybrid environment, because in hybrid it can be a combination of some from predictive and some from adaptive. In terms of scope planning in adaptive environment, we use what we call incremental or iterative development. We use user stories, to propose alternative ways of viewing the requirements process. Okay. We use the word backlogs. So the scope in predictive environment is what we call backlog. So backlog is a list of items that you put in what we call a backlog list. So imagine if this is your bucket and you put here your items, okay, those user stories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. So in the order in which you want them to be worked on. So if this is your first user story to work on, in the order of priority, you take out 1. But if the product owner wants to make number 5 a priority, they reprioritize the backlog. So this backlog, so the project team only works on what is in the backlog, okay? And anything that is not in the backlog needs to be put in the backlog. And that priority is normally determined by the product owner and the project team. So we are saying that the prioritized list of known scope of work is the backlog. So in Agile, we call this backlog, okay? Backlog. Information is presented in a story form, continually updated by the product owner in collaboration with the teams, okay? A product owner creates a product backlog and identifies and adds stories in collaboration with the team and stakeholders. Work items describe desired product functionality through user stories. The product owner is responsible for prioritizing work. Please understand the product owner who is responsible for prioritizing and reprioritizing work. The product owner and the team collaborate to move work items through iteration or sprint backlog. So backlogs may be known slightly by different names on your team or project, but the names are generally descriptive. Sometimes product backlog, sometimes iteration backlog, sometimes release backlog, sometimes sprint backlog. Oh, guys, the feedback is killing us. Let me see what to do here. Please mute. Thank you for muting. Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing about backlog. Okay. And then work in a typical agile environment can be organized into what we call epics and features. Remember, work in predictive environment can be broken down into WBS. But the biggest chunk of work in agile is called epic. So this is an epic. So the epic can be broken down into features. Okay, so we can say this is feature 1, feature 2. So what was an epic here can be broken down into features. So a set of related requirements or functionalities that provides value to an organization. So if I break the epic into 2, then I must make sure that feature number 1 stands on its own. Feature number 2 is additional to feature number 1. Okay, so epic and features. And then from features, we can actually go to what we call user stories. So epic, feature, user stories. That's the hierarchy, if you like, in adaptive environment. Okay. Scope is validated when the customer accepts deliverables. That is in adaptive environment. In predictive, in a predictive environment, we have what we call acceptance criteria. In adaptive environment, we talked about these 2 words, acceptance criteria, and then iteration reviews, and any combination of those. And the question is here, I think I want you to answer the next questions. So I'll skip these ones and go straight to these 3 questions. Let's answer these 3 questions that bring us to the end of my presentation. Please share your answers quickly in the chat room. 3 minutes. Okay, I'm waiting. Please do answer the 3. Please answer the questions quickly. One, two, three.
CBB. 1 C, 2 B, 3 B.
Just answer in your chat room, please.
So sorry about that.
Yeah. Just answer in the chat room. Yes, let's see the answers coming. Okay. We have 1 minute to go. I want to make sure everyone has answered. Please answer. Okay. Half a minute, I think, to go. All right. So the answers are, let's see. Please check if your answers are right. CBB. CBB. All right. So those were the answers. And that brings us to the end of our presentation this night. I don't know if Mimi is back. Mimi, are you there?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry, I had an issue with my connectivity, and but thanks very much.
All right, I want to hand back to you because we're already out of time.
Gerald, quick one. Are we gonna be able to get this presentation?
Sure, I'll share it with me.
Okay.
Thank you, Gerald. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much, Gerald, again for your time. Thanks again for all those insightful questions for the preparation. Definitely, we'll make sure to share with you guys the recording of this session and also the support documents. So stay tuned. And on these notes, it's my turn to wish you all the best for those writing this week and those writing next week till we meet again. But stay tuned. We are meeting again on Thursday for another session with another instructor. And yeah, so have a good night and all the best. Gerard, thank you.
Merci.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
All of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the session. Good night. Au revoir.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.